The Luftwaffe, out of favor with Hitler since his defeat in the Battle of Britain, had found a candidate of its own. The pilotless plane, or flying bomb. It was small, about half the size of a British Spitfire, and fast, up to 400 miles an hour. It was able to carry nearly a ton of high explosive, almost half its overall weight. The machine's greatest novelty lay in its engine, a pulse jet, which drove it forward by a series of explosions in a combustion chamber. These produced its distinctive sound, audible for miles around. On Christmas Eve 1942, the first flying bomb carrying explosives was tested. When the missile reached its target, having traveled a preset distance, a simple device in the nose cut off the fuel with a final rattle.
Mistakes like these, when an American chopper pilot shot Iraqi civilians, should now occur less frequently.
Clear.
Drones are said to be more precise,
Clear.
but that turns out to be not entirely true.
Coming around clear. Roger.
Watching live video from their Air Force base in Nevada, the report says, the operators of the Predator drone ignored or downplayed signs there were children in the convoy. 7 miles from its destination, the convoy was attacked by helicopter, rocket, and missile fire. 23 civilians were killed, a dozen more injured. Women and children were among the casualties. The drone operator's work in Nevada was unprofessional, the report said, and it said military command in Afghanistan had functioned poorly. The incident was one of a string of similar strikes in Afghanistan in which the targets turned out to be not Taliban fighters, but civilians.
So you have 2 people operating the aircraft?
That's right, the pilot under the direction of the pilot. You need 2 to maximize the capabilities of the aircraft. So as you can see, the sensor operator is actively involved in moving that targeting pod around, finding the blue forces, the convoy, etc. It's pretty much a full-time job, and so that allows the pilot to focus on not just maneuvering the aircraft to produce optimal imagery, but also to be in charge of the overall tactical scenario, how you're going to employ the weapon system.
It's just a big computer game. It's funny how these pilots, although they are desk pilots, still wear flight suits to make them look like real pilots.
And for all the claims of precision supporters of the use of drones make, a recent study found that strikes carried out by drones are 10 times more deadly to civilians than strikes by manned aircraft.
In a way, the Americans already reached the turning point in 2009 and 2010. They trained more screen pilots than pilots physically inside an aircraft. And they purchased more unmanned planes than manned ones.
We're going to be asking really hard questions about these numbers. They're incredibly low for the number of people killed who are civilians.
Even the highest U.S. government estimates are significantly lower than death totals compiled by watchdog groups. One estimates a maximum of 801 civilian deaths. The report, critics say, also doesn't designate the region where the deaths occurred or explain how officials determined who was an enemy and who was not.
The approximately 17 meters payload possibly to carry is 250 kilos, and it can fly up to 36 hours in operational mode.
So what are the uses of this particular drone?
Okay, generally, operationally wise, you can use your imagination, okay? 250 kilos of payload. You can use different radars, sea radar or SAR radar, and of course the camera against every scenario on the future battlefield. As you can see, this is the specific, let's say, configuration, and you can see it has nothing on board except the camera.
Right now, I mean, but next to Gaza, in Sderot, looking over it during the last conflict that they had there, you could really hear the drones in the sky. You could, I mean, it was like a chorus of lawnmowers circling overhead. The hum of their propellers filled the sky day and night. During the heaviest fighting in Gaza in 2008 and 9, human rights groups reported 87 civilians killed during the 42 drone-assisted attacks.
We sat in a box for nearly 12-hour shifts. All the lights were usually off except for the light coming from the monitors. I remember watching a wedding. I mean, these were people enjoying themselves. These were people celebrating like a wedding, you know? Like, but someone in that wedding was a bad person. We were the ultimate voyeurs, the ultimate peeping toms. No one's gonna catch us. And we're getting orders to take these people's lives. It was just point and click.